Hello and welcome to Chat with Melisa. In today's episode, I have the privilege of speaking with two times UiPath MVP, Vino Livan, who's going to throw light on GenAI connectors and its integration with UiPath and some other powerful service connectors. First of all, Vino, I want to thank you for taking the time to speak with us and also welcome you to this episode of Chat with Melisa.
Hey, thanks, Melisa. It's a pleasure for me to be here.
Thanks, Vino. So let's get started. I have a couple of questions for you. My first question to you is, tell us about the integration of UiPath with GenAI connectors. There's a lot of buzz about GenAI, and also what are the advantages when it comes to automation projects?
Yeah, sure. Let's break it down. In any organization, we'll be having the data that is flowing through the different systems, and there is a specific function and service for each of them, right? And there are actually system tools and frameworks in place that actually defines how the data moves and how to govern them. So with the current state of features and the integration that UiPath brings, so it is becoming more like a central hub, right, where it can effortlessly connect all the systems and the application together. So whether right now your data is in a ERP or a CRM, or it can be on a traditional legacy system as well. So UiPath has this remarkable ability built in the platform where it can bridge the gap between all of them and it can seamlessly connect, the systems together, right? Now let's imagine a simple use case, right? You are in a bank and you may have your data that is scattered across multiple systems, right? You may have your customer data, you can have your transactional records, and even, since we are dealing with the customer records, we may have it like the handwritten notes. Now, here is where the UiPath can step in. It can effortlessly connect with these systems, right? And here is where things get very much interesting. Now, some of the data here are actually very much messy. It's very much unstructured, and we have seen in the past that how difficult it is to solve a unstructured data, right?
Yeah.
So, in this case, where the customer, has been having the data across all the systems. So UiPath can, bring in the data together. Imagine, a customer is sending out a feedback email. So UiPath, using the integration with their connectors, it can get the data from that email using the GenAI, which is like the super smart assistant for the bot. It can analyze that email, it can figure out the sentiment, and it can pass on that insight to a UiPath bot, right? The UiPath can take that insight and it can, do something like it can route it to a different department, or it can, uh, create some, downstream work so that the other person can, distribute it. So, and again, since it is done by a bot, uh, it works, 24/7, and right off the bat, you are getting like a super smart customer assistant in this case.
Yeah, that's right. It was an interesting use case where you explained the end-to-end workflow about how the GenAI connectors work and the integration with UiPath. I would like to continue this further if you can throw some light on powerful integration service connectors.
Sure, absolutely. Let me introduce to one of the UiPath coolest feature, that is integration service. Now, integration service is again a gateway that can connect across all the systems, right? And what makes the interesting, the integration service very much interesting is the pre-built connectors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, with these connectors, you don't have to write the traditional API code. You just have to plug the connectors through your UiPath workflow, and using the custom pre-built activities, you can directly throw some action into your use case, right? So let's suppose you want to streamline your sales process, right? Where you're getting the data from, let's suppose an email, right? Now, using the UiPath and the Outlook 365 activities, you can directly get the data from that email. You can download the attachment, and more to that, you can apply the document understanding, and you can digitize that information. You can get the information that you're looking out for. And finally, again, using something like, the Salesforce connector, you can directly, put your data right into the Salesforce, right? So that is one of the interesting use case that you can look at for. Now, this is across all the industries, right? Maybe it can be the customer support or sales or HR. UiPath integration service as the pre-built connectors across all the systems that can help you to seamlessly connect to them and also, make your automation more robust.
That's great. I'm sure you've used a lot of this in your work life and in your day-to-day activities as well. So, as you're working on these automation projects, can you tell us what are some of the best practices that one needs to follow in order to ensure a smooth and successful integration?
Sure thing. When it comes to implementing the automation solution, right, with UiPath, or not only with UiPath, along with, some other GenAI capabilities, some of the best practices that you really need to keep an account for, right? First and foremost is understanding the business requirement and going the thorough analysis study, right? Now, this is the first step for any of the program, and this is where you need to, make sure you're understanding the current process well. You're setting up the solution in such a way that it is very much future proof, right? It is covering up the very clear objectives, and at least it can scale up at least for, the next coming years. Right. And the next important thing that you need to keep in mind whenever you're going with some AI technologies is about the security, right?
Yeah.
You really need to build in your security practices, your, how you're governing the customer data. All that needs to be built very well. And obviously, you need to look up for some tool that has the security features and, all these governance practices built within their tool. And UiPath, I mean, there is no other tool best than UiPath, right? How they consider security as the key most important, right? Right from encrypting the connections between the different systems and making sure, all the data that flows through is very much going through a secure channels. And since UiPath is going like the cloud first platform, we can say how much, effort that has been put to make sure the data is actually very much secure. Now, security is very much key. And along with, some other sense of advices, moreover, if you're going with some like AI use cases, it is always good to start with the POC, proof of concept. And in that, you need on what are the objectives that is being needed, right? And based on the proof of concept, you'll be having your ground data with you, right? And from that, you can actually make some decisions. Okay, this use case, along with the technology, if it is the right fit for going ahead, right? So these are some of the fundamental things that needs to be taken care when you drive, the automation technologies with other AI systems.
Perfect. I totally agree with you, especially when it comes to security. Usually, people have this concern about where is my data going? Is it safe? Is it secure? And as you rightly mentioned, UiPath takes care of the security and governance. That's very much correct. Okay, and moving to my last question is, what do you think is the future of OpenAI and the integration with UiPath? How do you see the automation landscape evolving?
Yeah, sure thing. As we look ahead, right, in this path of integrating OpenAI with UiPath, I can say there has been tremendous opportunities that, there are endless number of use cases that we can talk about, right? So this collaboration, especially with the best in the platform, UiPath with being the best with the automation platform and OpenAI with being the best right now with the GenAI capability, you can reimagine of how you can define your automation program, right?
Yeah.
It's not only about fixing the gap between the processes, it is more like upstream, where you can start building your business processes by leveraging these technologies together, right? And looking ahead, we can just see aspect of how the innovative the solution that you can bring, because there has been still some challenges with the business processes, and since some of the business processes are so much manual and it's so much complex in nature that with a simple automation you cannot solve that, right? You need to harness a power where you can bring in some kind of human intelligence into your automation, and that's where the Gen AI can really help in to fixing that gap. By leveraging these two technologies, the possibilities are endless. And obviously, going forward, we can see new level of the automation that is coming together that can unlock company with the productive and their agility and also with the innovation.
Rightly said. On that note, I want to thank you for sharing your insights on GenAI connectors and its integration with UiPath. Thank you once again.
Thanks so much, Melisa.
So, viewers, we hope you enjoyed this conversation and found it interesting and insightful. To know more about UiPath platform and its offerings, log into academy.uipath.com, take a look at our courses, our learning plans, and the certification. get certified, and stay ahead of the curve. Until then, happy automation and happy learning. Bye.